Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our April PTSA General Meeting. Thank you for joining us this evening. So for this evening, we're going to go through some PTSA updates. And then after that, we are pleased to have guests joining us this evening, and you're going to have a chance to choose your own breakout room. So you can see up on the screen right now, we have 3 breakout rooms. We have Michelle McMahon, who's going to talk about student internships and benefits of internships for college prep. Michelle is a Wooten teacher. And then we have room 2, Amy Beal. Amy Beal comes to us from MCPS, and she's the implementation coordinator for Maryland's Blueprint for the Future. And you'll hear how the blueprint will impact every student. And then in room 3, this is directed for senior parents. We're pleased to have Paul Chung from Shulman Rogers Law Firm and a member of the Montgomery County Police Department joining us to talk about keeping our students safe during the various senior year celebrations. So let's move to the next slide. So I did want to remind everyone that we are nearing the end of the school year, as you probably know. And so our final meeting of the school year is going to be on May 21st at 7 o'clock. And our topic for that meeting is going to be focused on the summer programs, both MCPS and Wooten summer programs. And then we have guests coming from the new Montgomery County Career Advising Program, MoCo CAP. So we're very pleased to have them, and they're going to explain to us what this program is and how it benefits our students. There will be a pre-meeting for our members. That's going to be at 6:30, and at that meeting, we're going to vote on the budget. We have to have some funding to keep us going throughout the summer until the September meeting, where we vote on the next year's budget. And then we have 2 officers that are 2 positions that we'll be electing. For vice president 2 and secretary, and these are very critical officer positions. And so please, if you're interested in serving, or you know somebody who might be interested and who is very interested in being engaged in Wooten activities and MCPS, we would love to have you join our board. And so the time commitment is not significant, and we all pitch in. So it's really critical to get really good volunteers to help us so we can keep PTSA running smoothly. So I'll turn it over to, let's see, the next slide, and that'll be Jessica for Secretary's updates.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to remind the group that there will be no principal's coffee chat this month. Our last coffee chat again is also in May. It's coming up on the 24th. I think I got the dates confused last month, so it is the May 24th at our regularly scheduled 9 a.m. session. And I just wanted to pitch out one more time, actually for all the senior parents, you'll probably get several emails from me that the graduation bus tickets are on sale. It's $25 per person for members, $30 per person for non-members. Only the person buying the tickets has to be a member. So again, if you would like to buy them for family members, they don't have to be members of the PTA, just you as the purchaser. And you can purchase them from the website or from the emails that you will be I will be sending out over the next month or so. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And I want to echo Brian's pitch for someone to take over my position. It's been a pleasure. It's been a wonderful experience working with the PTA. And so if you have any questions or you're interested at all, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to walk you through what I do. But it's a wonderful experience and something that I would recommend any person who has an interest at all in the school consider. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Nelson.
Thank you so much, Jessica. It's very nice to be with you this evening. My name is Doug Nelson. I'm principal here at Wooten. I just wanted to take the opportunity to provide a few updates for you tonight. So I wanted to start with a really nice celebration. As some of you may be aware, our Acatonics, which is our a cappella student group has had a successful year with a number of wins and has done very well, not only as an ensemble, but when they've been in competitions. And so it was a very lovely evening when we all got together. This would have been last Monday, so not Monday this week, but the one before. Acatonics were invited with their sponsor, Mr. Schwartz, to the Rockville City Hall, where we were present with the mayor and the council, and they gave the students a proclamation that celebrated their success. And it was a very special moment to be honored with that group. And we had a lot of fun meeting the council and kind of having a few words with them. So congratulations to the Acatonics. Bullet point number 2 is some important information about testing season. So generally around the end of April and the start of May, the vast majority of our schools move into some sort of testing, and that is the same for Wootton High School. So MCAP testing has already started, and that is the state required testing that all students must complete in certain specific academic areas. This would be algebra, English 10, MISA is for science. Just a little note and a reminder, we have been communicating all year. The assessment that takes place for government this year is going to count for student assessments, or excuse me, a student's final grade is a part of their assessment. So just a reminder that this year when students complete their assessment in NSL, it's going to count for 20% of their final marking period grade. And there's more information on the MCPS website if you would like to read the reminder information about what's going to happen with student grades. What's really important here is to take note of the flow of information about AP and MCAP testing. We have a number of students that are going to go through one of those two experiences. And so please be sure to check out this last week's community update. And we're going to repeat this information so that you are aware of what schedule is being followed for AP testing as well as MCAP. For some of our days, because the amount of testing is so significant, within that testing schedule, we have modified the school's bell schedule. So please pay particular attention to those days. And I was asked to please speak to those specifically if you are new to this at the high school level. So I'm going to start with an example. You will see the first day of testing, which is Monday, May 6th. You're going to see there's MCAP government. A large number of students will take that, plus AP government. A large number of students will take that test. Because we have a large number of students testing, that is what the whole school will be moving into. So while I cannot tell you as principal that everyone should stay home, what I am letting you know is we are not running regular classes and we are not taking an attendance during that time. So the only students who are really required to come on the first day of testing in the morning are those students who are taking one of those two exams. Otherwise, students may come beginning at lunch, which starts at 11:35, and then first period starts at 12:15 that day, and we only have periods 1 through 4. So we will be cycling through certain testing days like that. So please be sure to take a look at the bell schedule. It's made very clear during that week which days have modified schedules. And if you do not see a modified schedule day on the bell schedule, that means that we are running a regular bell schedule and all students are expected at school. Okay, so just to repeat that in simple, on modified bell schedule days, please be sure to check to see if your child is taking one of the identified exams. Otherwise, they are not required to be there. And if it is important that you just need to have your child take the bus to school, please know they will be in a study hall if they are not in one of the testing experiences. So important information about testing is out there. Please be sure to check it out. And finally, a note to the class of 2024. We're definitely in that time period. We have lots of information flowing out for the graduating class, our seniors. It's the exciting time of year. One special note. Students were emailed directly what we call the senior survey. And the senior survey is an important piece of information, and it comes with a request from me, the principal, to you. Please be sure to follow up with your student to make sure that they have submitted their senior survey, because that really helps us in a number. It's not just a task that we're asking students to do because we just want them to complete it. It really helps us in a number of ways. Helps us figure out what scholarship money has reached our students, what decisions have been made about their post-high school career decisions. And then we use these data and actually talk about it. We're asked for this information oftentimes from MCPS. And here's the other thing. At graduation rehearsal, if you're a senior who has not completed your survey, we're going to try to find you and ask you to do your survey that morning. So seniors don't want to have to do double duty, which is try to figure out how to get in line and look great at graduation, plus have someone coming and saying, we need you to do your survey right now. So please be sure to open up those emails and complete that senior survey that will help get information to us. And please also, a special note, there's some information continuing to flow in the community update about the big events such as senior picnic and prom and all of those other things that we have planned for our seniors. So thank you all very much. And that concludes my updates for tonight.
Thank you for those updates. I did have one more update that I wanted to share. So last month I did mention the March community meeting that we had with MCPS, Facilities and Construction. They talked about the ADA improvements that they're going to be making in 2 phases. Phase 1 will take place this coming summer, and phase 2 the following summer. For more, there's some activities that are going to occur next summer that require permitting from the city of Rockville, so it takes a little bit longer. There's going to be another community meeting coming up. That community meeting is going to come up the week of May 20th. And that community meeting will be focused on the realignment of the front driveway, which would be part of the phase 2 changes that will take place next summer. So I did put a link in the chat, and that is the link to construction updates for Wootton. And there's a slide deck that I think everyone should be able to access through the link that I just added. And that shows the phase 1 and phase 2 activities that are going to be done over the next 2 summers. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that. And, if there's any questions, you could always send me an email through the PTSA directory on the PTSA website. So now we're going to go ahead and move into our breakout sessions. So Jessica, let's go back to the first page of the slide deck, and you can see the choices again, and you can make your choice. And there's a on the bottom of your screen, you'll see 3 little dots to the right where it says more, and that's where you can find the breakout rooms, and you could go ahead and select your breakout room at this time. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great evening and enjoy the presentation.
I'm going to go ahead and just get you introduced, and then I'll turn it over to you for our presentation tonight. I know we're a small group, but I really think the information in this session is going to be very important. I will say, as a principal, as the blueprint and all of its pillars and the information that has come with what I think is a pretty landmark piece of legislation in Maryland, as that has started to flow, it has been very interesting, and interesting, I think, in a very good way, right? Because there's a lot that you have to take in, but what I do find so beneficial is kind of the intentionality behind the whole blueprint. So there just isn't a pillar that I think you can look at school systems today and say, well, that isn't value added, or that isn't kind of moving the needle to build programs and opportunities for students, because the landscape is really changing when we think about what they're going to do post their experience in high school. And so I think these pillars are going to be particularly important. And I just want to say to everyone on the breakout room tonight, we went through an audit. We were actually first up for an experience that is a part of the blueprint. And the office that Amy Beal, who is one of the coordinators and is really helping us roll this out across all of MCPS, they were truly partners in helping us figure out everything that needed to go as a part of this experience that we went through. And Amy, we actually got our first report back, and we were taking a look at it today as a part of ILT. And we were kind of pulling apart some of the initial findings in domain 1 around instruction, which I think was extremely interesting for our team. So we can already feel like these very tangible touch points within the rollout of the blueprint as it really comes into being. So thank you for being here tonight. And I'm going to turn it over to you to take us through some of the information you have to share with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And I appreciate your words and all of the activities that the PTA has planned. That is part of the blueprint work, right? The career advising, and getting ready for all of the career counseling and things like that. So we'll talk about that a little bit as we go. So thanks for joining me and having me tonight. So I will get started. We are a division in MCPS. There is a team of us that work on all things Blueprint. And so I'm just going to do an overview, and please let me know if you have questions. So just a quick agenda for tonight. I'd just like to let us know that we're going to talk about all the pillars. I know some of them may or may not be relevant depending on the students' ages, but I think you'll see as a county resident how this looks and the changes that you'll see coming over the next couple of years. So, and there's also a lot of news and different media around it. So you'll have a good understanding, hopefully, of what that looks like. So these are just pictures of our team. So if you ever see us in the buildings, you'll know who we are. And we are doing work for the entire county. So the four of us are out and about quite a bit, trying to be support and resourceful for those schools. So here's what this looks like. So we started this legislation, this law, 3 years ago. So right before the pandemic, it came into place and was signed into law. It was part of a long commission called the Kerwin Commission. We are part of the entire state doing this work. So what we're responsible for is the same in every other county. So we do have state meetings, county meetings, a lot of different meetings, ensuring that the work is happening and the accountability piece. And, you know, the overall goal and the reason this was so important is, like Doug stated, is to really to make Maryland this high performing system where all students are valued, and we're expanding academics, resources to families, and really just having an overall kind of revamping of education. So we are established an accountability and implementation board. So that's a group of stakeholders that they oversee us, or oversee MSDE and the implementation of the blueprint. So these are the 5 pillars, and you'll hear that quite a bit. If you hear anything about blueprint, it's, you know, pillars. So this is what the pillars are and how they're related to each section of education. So you'll see early childhood, education and expansion, and I'll go into all of these a little bit more, but high quality teachers and diverse leaders, college and career readiness, and career and technical education. If you've seen the news, you will see like a rise across the nation in career and technical education for students and careers. And then you'll see more resources of students. We'll talk about that, but that's also if you hear concentration of poverty or community schools, all of these things are under Pillar 4. And then that governance and accountability piece that I'll touch on lightly, but really it's that MSDE, AIB kind of twofold system for reporting and doing site visits for us. And then all the pillars overlap. So if you're in early childhood, so if you're a Pillar 1, your teacher in that classroom is also going to be going through that high quality and diverse teachers and leaders for national board certification. They can also be at a community school, which is Pillar 4. They can also be a part of Pillar 3 for career and college readiness if they're at a high school. So all of these pillars overlap, so it's not silos. We do county meetings and we do collaboration meetings across all of the pillars and all of the leads of those pillars. So it's really important to note like how one affects the county is kind of how all of them affect the county. And they're all on timelines and rollouts for each pillar. So it's just important that, you know, our workforce is implemented, of course, by the Pillar 3 with a career and college and career technical. So you'll see, you know, all of these different initiatives around Workforce Montgomery and Montgomery College and different universities. And then, you know, the same will be for the teachers, right? Partnering with different universities about how the teachers can be expanding their educations, right? To become master's level teachers or national board certified teachers or different things. So this is just kind of our graphic to show how all of them overlap. And then not only do all the pillars overlap, but it also overlaps with MCPS as a system. So this is just how it overlaps already with our anti-racist audit and our strategic plan for MCPS and the different career pathways that we already have in MCPS. So it is more work, but it's also work we're already doing and we already have in place in MCPS, which is important that we recognize what we're already doing and how to build upon the work we're already doing. So this just kind of lays the ground for how it's already built in to some of these plans and pathways that we already have. So this is pillar 1, which is early childhood. So you can see, I'm not going to read the slides to you, but you can see that it's really about expansion, capacity, and growing that pre-K and that early childhood classrooms for young students. So the goal here is to have what they call a mixed delivery system, meaning that parents have a choice between sending their children to a highly qualified childcare or a classroom at a school for pre-K. So recognizing that parents have a choice and that we're working with childcare providers so they can also receive funding through the blueprint. And so they can also have the license and the accreditation and the different certifications that the state require, but also MCPS is partnering with them to help them through that process and through inviting them to professional development, meeting with them regularly to talk about any issues they might have as their own kind of recognized childcare, but also how we as a system need more capacity for students, right? The schools, some of them were built long ago and there's just not space to house, an additional pre-K classroom or additional 3-year-old classroom or Head Start classroom. So it's really about how we can partner with the community to make sure that all the children that want to come to school at a 3 and a 4-year-old level, there's a space for them and a seat for them. So this is kind of, and then using that, of course, to do those high standards for curriculum and academics as well, so they're ready to enter kindergarten. So the next one, we touched on a little bit, but high quality and diverse teachers and leaders. So really elevating the teaching profession, holding it to high standards, right? And then recognizing that high standard with not only like pay, of course, salaries, but also with professional development, with comprehensive in-service trainings, having educated licenses, prep courses, prep programs, and then working conditions. So, and then recruiting high quality and diverse teachers and leaders. So looking at how teachers are recruited, where MCPS as a system is recruiting candidates from, and then what does that look like for teachers in strong content areas who have been mentored by exceptional teachers, and how can we elevate the work that's happening and that they're doing and showing that we value them. And then pillar 3, which is college and career readiness. So if you have students either, in middle school, but also in high school, what does this look like for students? So looking at college and career pathways, starting that conversation younger, even to be able to just share all the programs that MCPS has, which is a lot, and sharing and thinking about what does career college look like at a younger age and a younger grade. So they talked earlier about the college counselors, right? So in partnership with Montgomery Workforce and Montgomery College, and having those counselors at all the schools for career counseling and making sure that every student has the opportunity to connect with somebody about college and career readiness and about a pathway and a plan for what does after high school look like for them. So this is something that we're building into MCPS and really trying to establish strong connections to the community through apprenticeship, internships, which is another session right now, I think, which is great. But how can we help students recognize their potential, recognize their value and what they want to be in the community when they graduate, and how we can help make that happen. well, this is my highlights. So these are things that are already happening that I think Wooten already has in place, which is awesome, or will have in place. So monitoring progress with grade 9, tracking and interventions and assessments, school day tutoring to meet the needs of underserved students, and then career counseling, which I mentioned already. But I think that middle school piece is really important because that's going to be different than what we've seen in the past. You know, before the counselors would come in to talk to middle school students about high school, but this is going to be more, I don't want to say intense, but it's going to be more one-on-one and more, I think, impactful for middle school students than what we've seen in the past. And starting those conversations earlier. So this is again related to high school students, but looking at Academy of Information of Technology, having that dual enrollment with Montgomery College so students can graduate high school with their associates as well as their high school diploma. So getting that head start and making sure that every student has that opportunity. You have the science capstone programs. Every high school, I feel like, has one of the academies, at least one, if not more, but getting that knowledge out and making sure that all the families know about those opportunities. Rebecca, did you have a question?
I do. My question is around the 9th grade tracker. What is that? What are you tracking?
Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Let me see. I'm sorry. So those are your assessments, your 9th grade, like your map assessments. Are they map, Doug? You're gonna ask me for.
Yeah, I don't know, we call it the tracker, but this means
Yeah.
that we are regularly looking at the 9th grade data for to see that they are on target, on track for like essentially EOL, right?
Like their final, like what data?
So I think of like the student data. So their grade, the reports, any standardized assessments. So really it's making sure that every student is meeting like their goals for each level in school, right? It's nothing additional. We're not giving more assessments. It's not more standardized testing. It's just having schools, like Doug was saying earlier, how they went into ILT and they're already looking at the curriculum and making changes to make sure that they're reaching the students and that we're making the right curriculum choices and the right support for the students. So
I just want to understand, because I think it might look different in every high school. I don't know when it says monitor progress with the 9th grade, but every school might be monitor, I think it's still confusing maybe, and maybe it's confusing.
The thing that I think most about is that MCPS, when we have our SIP review, they're taking us back to the evidence of learning benchmarks. So as Amy mentioned, for 9th graders, that's their transition point, which is a MAPR score that shows that they have regressed over summer, that they came in and they're continuing that because they're not going to take MAPR after grade 9. But it also shows that their literacy is on track. And then there are different evidence of learning benchmarks specifically for 9th graders to make sure that they are on track with their credits, but that they are also making progress to what they need to pass to stay on track for graduation. Because what happens after 9th grade, Rebecca, like the connection point is like once the 9th and 10th graders, their data are just tracked. By the time they're 11th graders, they're now validation process. And that's an entirely different thing to make sure that then they're walking the stage.
And I think you're right, Rebecca, it does look different at every school. Some elementary schools that are able to have, a wall in their meeting rooms where they're literally going through every single student to make sure they're meeting those progression and learning. And then you have, like Doug was saying, they have ILT. I'm sure they have staff meetings with their counselors, with their social worker. It's really just, again, that children at school we're not missing anything, right? We're able to alert to things that might be happening that impact their learning.
So like in elementary school, you might use DIBELS, which is like
exactly
But
Yep.
but my question is more complex is ninth grade when you don't, if you know, so you have MAP and that's fine.
Mhm.
Just thinking about it from a Blue Point implementation
Mhm.
point, looking different at every school and like what data, it's just an interesting question. Like I know, for example, they have a central essay question in ninth grade. Is that tracked over time? You know, like what is, and it's awesome when having the conversations and as a staff about what to do better. But I think it's just a confusing maybe slide the way it's currently.
Yeah,
working.
that's probably my fault for wording it.
Yeah,
But
that's okay. It might be like uses map or uses, you know,
yes.
like in 10th grade, there's a clear benchmark, like 50%
Mhm.
are passing MCAT, 50%,
Yes.
you know, it's like something like that. It helps me understand because then if you're not meeting a certain benchmark, then parents would, you know, be informed, and if you're doing really well, you know, so
Mhm. And the map does get sent to parents, right? The map R and the map M.
I think
That
it,
gets,
I think it varies again with schools from what I've heard.
I think for MCPS, Doug, maybe you know, but I think it gets mailed to all the families for grade 9. But yes, but it's looking at those markers of map, MR, you know, when you enter and you take, depending on your math in middle school, right? What math do you have in high school? And then making sure they are on track, just like Doug said, to graduate. So if we're not looking until grade 11, right? That's a little like too late, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like backing that up and making sure like in grade 9, because not, if you take a math that doesn't qualify towards your numbers of math classes needed, right? Or if it's science and you're taking something that doesn't qualify as a credit for math, right? Because there's 4 that you have to take for math and 3 you have to take for science, and 4 you have to take for English. So making sure that every student is on the path for college or career. So looking at their map, looking at their coursework, making sure that, you know, because if you're a grade 9 student and you're taking a math or a science that doesn't qualify for one of those 4 credits, and let's say you fail, right? So now you're a sophomore and you're taking the same one again, that's still not going to qualify you. So how do you then, right, in 2 years, you're going to have to be able to take 4 credits, right? And does that look like summer school? Does that look like the education pathway to graduation? Like, what does that look like? So I think it's just kind of that back mapping that to making sure that students who, you know, start out strong and have a clear plan and are meeting those marks. Does that help? Am I confusing you more with my credit talk? And
I'm a teacher, so I totally get
okay,
it.
good.
I just think, you know, like I think in terms of like implementing a blueprint, it was maybe like cohesive around like all high schools were kind of tracking everything, you know, and I'm not to add more administrative, like that's not
Right.
like how Mr. Nelson needs to spend his time or you, but just thinking about what data we're actually monitoring and what we're telling parents, and if they're not seeing it, what we do, like,
Yes.
I think could help be like that's real equity, right? Like what's happening at like each school, if when it varies, it's like confusing, it's confusing for
Yes.
parents, everyone's
Right. And I think you'll see more college and career fairs across the county. Like there was just one on the out of school time day. I think, like,
Boone just did one and brought kids
Yeah.
to so you know, and I know
I think you're just gonna see a lot more of those talks earlier is what I anticipate, right? To make
Cool.
sure that everybody is on track, making sure everybody is able to take the classes they need to graduate on time,
Right.
or to talk about all the CTE programs across the county, or, you know, how to impact them earlier so that they, you know, don't get to 11th or 12th grade and then be like, oh, you still need 4 or 5 of this to graduate, right? We don't want to see that happen.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Did I talk about this or not? No, I'm off. So talking about blueprint in action. So here we go. Academy of Information of Technology. So looking at, again, all those career pathways, dual enrollment, the academies, internships, and then the career coach position that we've talked about already with Montgomery County and Montgomery Workforce. So pillar 4. So again, we are seeing more resources, right? So this is expanding the services, mental health, physical health. This is where you'll see community schools. So right now there's 34 community schools in Montgomery County. I think we're going to get another 14, and we don't have the list yet where they've announced the schools. That comes from the state, but I do think we'll be at almost 50 community schools, and those are also coming in for middle schools and high schools. So, and that looks like more services, more counselors, community school staff, more funding for resources for after school programs, things like that. So that's a big piece. That's the concentration of poverty grants that you'll see on this slide where it says provide. You'll also see more additional supports for English language learners, low income households. So we've opened up, I want to say 12 food pantries in schools within the past year. So for a no cost to the school system or a no cost to the families. There have been like diaper giveaways. There's been vision vehicles that come around to do vision screenings, hearing screenings. So again, more health services, more support for students that receive special education services. So again, this is just, like it says, more resources. You'll just see more things happening across the county related to health, mental health, and other supports. Again, so this is kind of the wraparound piece, right? So you have like the academic piece, the planning for college piece, the teaching piece, and now you have the kind of everything else, right? So we went before care, after care, you know, all the community schools in Pillar 4 also have no cost breakfast and lunches, things like that. So you'll see just a plethora of resources at these schools. And then Pillar 5 is our governance and accountability. As I keep calling you Doug, but I guess I should call you Mr. Nelson. Sorry.
Doug works.
This is the governance accountability, as he mentioned earlier, those expert review team visits where the state sent a team out to really go through. It's been 2 full days at the schools to go through every kind of piece of what happens in the school day to day, looking at the curriculum, looking at the classroom size, looking at all these points of their checklist and how it functions within MCPS. We had 9 schools go through this year. We'll have more schools next year. The goal of MSDE is for every school to have a visit across the state and to have these teams look at every blueprint school. So they want to kind of see what the investment is and make sure it's working and how it can be done better, really. So that's that piece. And then of course, I've already said the accountability and implementation board, which is not state MSD employees. It's a different board and looking at, they oversee both the state and then of course the LEAs. And then you've got the county council also attends a lot of events at schools regularly, the school board, other governing bodies across Montgomery County. So really having a lot of eyes on this, having a lot of attention to this, and making sure that we're implementing this to be strategically impactful and that it's really benefiting our students and families. And this is an overview of what implementation looks like. And I just said continue to align the work of the blueprint so across this county and MCPS, develop blueprint staffing teams. Again, we meet with pillar team leads. We have spoken to the principals in the groups. We've spoken to our school counselors, our school psychologists, our school social workers. We really go group to group to talk about the work of the blueprint, to hear the feedback of what's happening across the county. The career ladders, we are, MCA, the teachers union, is involved in that career ladder process as well. Talking to other counties across the state on what it looks like for their county, sharing ideas, things like that. Reporting, so MSC reporting, as we submit reports to them, it goes live on their website. So you go always that accountability to the public piece where they can see what's going on. And then the coordination, I think I've talked about that, and the external and internal stakeholders. So our community partners, not only the childcare partners that we're partnering with, but our after school vendors, right? The people running our after school programs, the Rec and Parks Department on how we're partnering, you know, even with like field space, we're talking to facilities, right? About school capacity and what does this look like if we did add a portable or add a classroom, or, you know, so we're speaking to everyone kind of across the county and internally, making sure that everyone is kind of involved in this work and that we're being very thoughtful about this work. I think that's it for me. Any other questions or feedback? I will take your feedback, Rebecca, and I'm going to change that slide. So thank you for that.
Amy, there were a couple questions about, I think, the feedback that the ERT team, and correct me if I'm wrong, whether that report and those findings will be shared and how. And I'm looking at the FAQs from the MSDE website. It says we're getting the reports. It does not necessarily say whether they post them or whether schools have to put them out.
They do.
I remember one
them.
detail that maybe they have to be on our website, however.
So the Blueprint and the Accountability Board have websites, and I believe they told us that when we have a report due May 1st, and they told us it automatically goes instantly to the website on their website. So I think it's a requirement that MCPS post it, but it also will be on the state website.
And do you know, like, we submitted some factual adjustments to our first report, which we have the option to do. So I imagine those then they post after factual adjustments have been amended.
And so you've only received a partial report, correct?
They got domain 1.
So there will, and then you'll send that feedback to them, and then you'll get the full report and the same thing will happen. So I don't anticipate anything being posted probably until late May or June for those reports. Were there other questions that I missed in the chat that I should look at?
I hope I got to them. If not, please feel free to come off mute if there's a clarification or an additional question to ask.
I sent an invitation from NCC PTA in the chat. We're having it on Zoom about curriculum, opportunity myth. We're inviting a lot of people from MCPS about student outcomes. So
okay,
I'm speaking, my friend Reagan speaking, would love anyone to join.
Okay, I'm copying the link.
Awesome. And it's specifically focusing on ELA instruction in the county, middle school and high school.
Oh, awesome.
So,
okay, yeah.
Yeah, sorry if you hear my dog crying in the background. He loves it. When he hears Zoom, he thinks people are here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Always.
Well, thanks, Rebecca. I appreciate you listening and taking time out of your dinner and and for the thoughtful questions. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for all this amazing work and all the pillars in which a great community stands.
And if you want to talk, you know, later, or you have other thoughts, let me know.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything else, Mr. Nelson?
Not that I could think of. Last call for any questions that are out there.
All right. Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah. Thank you so much for presenting, Amy. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Bye.